Good morning, everyone. This is Sexologist Dr. Uttam K Dave, and I welcome you to this intimate relationship videos. I am a sexologist who is also trained to handle the sex and relationship issues of gays, lesbians, and bisexuals. Today, I'm going to discuss a very important topic, and that is coming out. As I read out the notes, I'm going to give you a little bit of explanations here and there. Some of it will not need any explanations, some of it will. And I hope this presentation will really help thousands and thousands of gay and lesbian men and women across the world to come out. Thank you. So let's begin. The hardest thing for a gay man or woman to do is to declare their sexuality to their parents. Now, obviously, this is something I have seen because I have a lot of patients who are gays, and that is one of the most difficult things for any gay man or a lesbian woman to come out to their parents. Obviously, the reason is because we are so used to moving around in a heterosexual world that confining in somebody that you have a different sexual orientation is something very difficult to do. It is equally hard for parents to accept, whether right or wrong, that their child is in fact gay, because most of the models which we see in the world, it's basically a man-woman kind of relationship they show in films, in theater, in cinema, everywhere. So parents also do not have much idea or do not have a thought in their mind that their child could be gay. The consequences of such revelations are impossible to foretell, since each family unit is different from the next. Now this is very important. I have had patients where one patient's mother knew right from the beginning that her son was gay. So ultimately, when he did confide to her, she said, I knew it right from the beginning. And then, of course, at the other extreme, I did have another lesbian patient who, when she confided in her parents, they almost said that get a job and leave the house. So we really cannot guess what could be the consequences. The hardest part of coming out is to accept your sexuality yourself. Yes, this is the first step. Once you have done this, then the rest is so much easier. It's always like you accept yourself, and it's not only the case of sexuality. Let's say you have a disease. Once you accept that you have a disease, then the other things will follow, like you will go to seek the help of a doctor, and you will listen to the advice of different people. So similarly, even if once you accept it to yourself, then the other doors start opening. If you choose to ignore it, thinking that you may be able to change the way you feel by getting married, then you are in for a very big shock. Now this is something very important. Parents have come to me saying that we understand what you're trying to say, but then I think once we get a son married, he'll become straight. Now honestly, it does not work that way. How are you going to tell your wife? Now this is very important. Consider what will happen when you realize at a later date that you have made a mistake and that you should not have married. Now many men and women are marrying under the myth that marriage is going to make them heterosexual. And as I read out earlier, it's very difficult then to tell your partner that you are gay or a lesbian. How are you going to tell your wife or husband? How are they going to react? How are you going to say? Because if you could not say it earlier, how are you going to say it now? And how are they going to react? Most probably in a shock. Are you going to carry on the relationship based on a web of lies? Obviously, if you are marrying a woman and you have the mind of a male body, you have the mind of somebody who's interested only in males, then obviously you are cheating your partner. Are you going to have relationships with same-sex partners with the risk of passing on sexually transmitted diseases to your spouse? Now this is something which is very important, particularly in case of those males who are very promiscuous, who have many partners apart from their wife. And obviously this is a high risk when you are having multiple sex partners and then you're coming back home and having sex with your own wife. Don't think for 1 minute that marriage will solve all of your problems. It will not. In fact, it never does. There are numerous testimonials to the fact. However, on the same note, if you are truly not sure what your sexuality is, then experiment without hurting anyone. So you cannot be committed to somebody and then try to experiment. You could also take a certain tests which will help you identify whether you are a gay or a lesbian or a straight or a bisexual. So you can take those psychological tests, and if you're honest with the test, it can help you identify your mental sexual orientation. It may be that you are bisexual and be able to carry on a relationship with either sex. In any case, even if you're able to do that, it's going to be a difficult situation. You may at an early age have an infatuation with someone of the same sex, even though your sexuality is heterosexual. The bottom line is, if you know deep down that you are gay, then you will have to come to terms with it. Now, this is very, very important, coming to terms with your own homosexuality. There's nothing anybody else can do for you. So you have to come to terms with it. If this seems impossible at the moment, then the best advice anyone can give you is to talk it through with someone that understands what it is that you are going through. And I would suggest that you speak to a sexologist who's sensitive towards the gay, lesbian and bisexual issues. Don't just speak to any sexologist who have no training in understanding the sex and the relationship issues or other societal issues which gay, lesbian and bisexual men and women face. So I would say that go and meet a sexologist and see how comfortable you are in sharing these personal details of your life, and then go ahead and take a consultation. Second thing, you are not alone. Every gay person has to decide whether or not to tell someone about their sexuality. Now, it's very, very important that at some point of time, if you want to live happily, that you do tell about your sexuality to somebody else. This may be their parents, their siblings, their work colleagues, their doctor, or their closest friends. I would suggest confiding first in your closest friend, because most of my clients or my patients, I would say, have their first person who has come to know about their homosexuality is their best friend. So you might as well begin that way. You can even confide in your parents. The reactions will vary greatly. Some people will already have guessed and be waiting for you to tell them, as I have already mentioned the case of one of my patients. Others will be shocked but will accept it by saying that you are still the same person. And obviously, how does your sexual orientation make you a different person? You are the same person but just have a different kind of mind. You are more attracted towards people of the same sex than the opposite sex. The minority will not be able to accept it, and it is these that have the problem, not you. Now, I want to go a bit further than what the text has to say, that it is their problem and not yours. Yes, definitely at a purely psychological level, that is true. And you also have to understand one thing, that people will not be accepting of your sexuality for various reasons, because they're very religious oriented. They themselves have no understanding that there can be 16 different kinds of sexual orientations apart from the man-woman relationship they have kind of been exposed to throughout their lives. So you cannot really blame them for that if they have not accepted you. You will have to decide whether or not the friendship or relationship is worth carrying on with. I'm sure people who like people who dislike homosexuals, like are homophobic, it's better to stay away from them. Now coming to a very important point, the third point is, when you feel that the time is right for you to come out, prepare a strategy. This is very, very important. One of my clients had decided that on a particular date at a particular time, when he was going to have dinner with his parents, he had decided to broach the topic. Your best friend should probably be one of the first people that you tell. If he or she is a true friend, then there should be no problem. Obviously, in most of the cases where I have worked with my patients, their friends have been understanding, and if they have not been totally accepting, they have not been rejecting either. They will accept you for who you are, not what you are. If you are fortunate enough to have a parent whom you can talk to, consider telling him or her. Yes, you can, of course, yes, as I said, that if you have an understanding parent, you can tell them. I believe mothers instinctively know whether or not their child is gay, so it may not be a complete shock to them, although they will have to come to terms with the reality of actually knowing it for a fact. It's something like, the mother is guessing that the son is gay, but then actually the son confirms it. Back yourself up with allies in your family. If you are close to your siblings, then tell them. they will usually come to your defense when you're confronted with a misinformed parent. Now, why am I saying that you take the help of your siblings? Because they are of a more recent generation than your parent. Because 90s onwards, there have been a lot of sexual revolution, and it has reached around the world. So people actually, after 90s, many men and women actually know what homosexuality is all about, whether it is through films or through discussion forums or so much of information available. So more people, like siblings of slightly older age than you, would also know a little bit about homosexuality and things like that. Point number 4. There is a common myth among straight people that all gay people end up lonely and living by themselves. Of course, this is a complete nonsense. It doesn't work that way. So yes, just one look at the divorce statistics show that even marriage is not a surefire way of living happily ever after. Of course, whether it's a marriage between a man or a woman, and a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, every relationship needs a lot of commitment, responsibility, and a lot of other things to keep the marriage going. Gay people have a social life that cannot be compared to the straight scene. Of course, older people are accepted into the pub club scene in such a way that it is unheard of on the straight scene, and this can be well on into their retirement. So this is one advantage which a gay old man would have over a gay old straight man. A gay old straight man would not have many avenues which are accepting of his age and his sexuality. But gay men, of course, can walk into a gay bar even when he is 65, 70, and can enjoy himself over there. Without the financial constraints of a family, you will have more security, you will be more traveled. This is one more advantage. Point number 5. Should you be rejected by your family, rest assured that they will come around in time. Now, with the families whom I have worked, I have counseled certain families as well. And if I remember, I must have counseled about, I think, 60 to 70 families, out of which 3 were very non-accepting, and till date they have not accepted their child. I cannot give their names, but I know 3 cases, but the rest of them they have accepted at different points of time. Put yourself in their place. It is a shock, and there is no way of avoiding the fact that they may well be distressed. However, if they cannot accept it, then it is their problem, not yours. You have been upfront with them, and it is up to them to come to terms with it. Putting your parents in touch with your local P-Flag helpline can help. Now, P-Flag, let me tell you something about P-Flag. P-Flag is an organization that works to explain parents who have a gay, lesbian, or bisexual child about the normality of their child and how they can come to terms with it, and how they can keep the relationship between them and their children easygoing. So I don't know in which part of the world you live, but in many parts of the world there are P-Flag organizations, and if you have a parent who simply fails to understand your sexual orientation, you can get in touch with P-Flag and then introduce your parents to them. They generally have weekly meetings where parents of gay, bisexual, and lesbian children meet, and over a course of time, over a period of meetings, they come to understand that this is again a very normal sexual orientation. Well, there is nothing to say that you must tell all and sundry that you are gay. It doesn't really make sense, because some people are least bothered whether you are straight or gay. If you do not wish to tell anyone, then you do not have to. But let me tell you something, that if you do not tell it to anybody, you are living under a lot of stress, which again I have seen in many of my patients, because they have not told anybody. Every time they are hiding under a blanket, and they want to make sure that nobody knows about it, which I do not find healthy at all. Of course, there are advantages of declaring your sexuality. You will not be open to blackmail. This used to happen sometime before this Supreme Court judgment, where if you were caught making love in a public toilet, or in a public place, and then you were blackmailed that you would be thrown to the police, or your family members would be informed. But these cases have definitely lessened after the Supreme Court judgment. You will not be looking over your shoulder every time that you go out, wondering if anyone that knows you has seen you. you will be more relaxed with yourself and people will accept you for who you are. Now you can understand, not only in case of homosexuality, but in cases of even other secrets which you have been trying to hide from people, and ultimately when the lid is taken off the secret is out, then it's no more stressful for you or for somebody else who is trying to find out what you're trying to hide. So this was my introductory video on coming out. I hope that any man or woman or a bisexual who is in the closet, I hope they will take all the means, all the routes, and think of ways and means by which you can come out to your parents and to your near and dear ones. It is really worth an effort. I have many patients. I have counseled them. Initially they were very reluctant to come out. I have counseled them, and then when they have come out, they have thanked me personally because their lives have been much more less stressful. They've been able to live the kind of lifestyle they want. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next week with another video related to gays, lesbians and bisexuals, sex and relationship issues. Thank you very much for watching this video.